The United States Civil Administration of the Ryukyu Islands, USCAR, issued the Civil Administration Proclamation No. 27 defining the geographical boundary lines of the Ryukyu Islands on December 25, 1953, arbitrarily expanding its jurisdiction to include China's Diaoyu Dao. However, there were no legal grounds whatsoever for the U.S. Act. In 1971, Diaoyu Dao experienced another twist in its fate. On June 17th of the same year, the United States and Japan signed the agreement concerning the Ryukyu Islands and the Diaoyu Islands Okinawa Reversion Agreement, which provided that any and all powers of administration over the Ryukyu Islands and Diaoyu Dao would be returned to Japan. On December 30th of the same year, the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a solemn statement pointing out that it is completely illegal for the governments of the United States and Japan to include China's Diaoyu Dao Islands into the territories to be returned to Japan in the Okinawa Reversion Agreement, and that it can by no means change the People's Republic of China's territorial sovereignty over the Diaoyu Dao Islands.
如果我们刚才讲到这个联合国的托管体系、托管制度的话，就是说它托管了之后，如果哪一天要结束这个托管，交给谁，或者还是当地要独立，那么这个必须得经过联合国的讨论，他才能做这个决定。但美国做的这个决定呢，并没有经过联合国的讨论，也没有经过联合国安理会的讨论。
The Okinawa Reversion Agreement is one of the major grounds held by the Japanese government to claim sovereignty over Diaoyu Dao. However, even the United States does not support Japan in this regard. In October 1971, the U.S. administration stated that the United States believes that a return of administrative rights over those islands to Japan, from which the rights were received, can in no way prejudice any underlying claims. Any conflicting claims to the islands are a matter for resolution by the parties concerned. In November of the same year, when presenting the Okinawa Reversion Agreement to the U.S. Senate for ratification, the U.S. Department of State stressed that the United States took a neutral position with regard to the competing Japanese and Chinese claims to the islands, despite the return of administrative rights over the islands to Japan. The Okinawa Reversion Agreement sowed the seed of territorial dispute between China and Japan. 10 months later, on September 29, 1972, China and Japan normalized diplomatic relations to the delight and relief of all peace-loving people. The then leaders of the two countries, taking the overall situation into consideration, reached an understanding and consensus on the issue.
我们叫钓鱼，这个名字就叫法不同。 这个双方确实有不同的看法。我们实现中日邦交正常化的时候，我们也双方约定不涉及这样的问题。
在1978年10月25日，在日本的俱乐部接受。 这个大批日本记者的采访，谈及了有关钓鱼岛问题是怎么处理的，在这个背景下呢，做了一番表述。当时呢，讲完话之后，全场鼓掌，没有任何的反对意见。
Thereafter, China and Japan put down historical grievances and worked together to promote economic interactions and cultural exchanges, and pursue stability and prosperity in East Asia. However, there have always been unexpected incidents and noise in the course of history. The Japanese right-wing forces have produced various versions of Diaoyu Dao issue, casting a shadow over Sino-Japanese relations. Refraining from taking drastic countermeasures, the Chinese government has taken legislative procedures and legal actions to affirm China's sovereignty over Diaoyu Dao and its affiliated islands. In 1992, China promulgated the Law of the People's Republic of China on the Territorial Sea and the Contiguous Zone, which unequivocally prescribes that Taiwan and the various affiliated islands, including Diaoyu Dao, belong to China. The 2009 Law of the People's Republic of China on the Protection of Offshore Islands establishes the protection, development, and management system of offshore islands and prescribes the determination and announcement of the names of offshore islands, on the basis of which China announced the standard names of Diaoyu Dao and some of its affiliated islands in March 2012. 6 months later, on September 10, 2012, the Chinese government issued another statement announcing the baselines of the territorial sea of Diaoyu Dao and its affiliated islands. 3 days later, the Chinese government deposited the coordinates table and chart of the base points and baselines of the territorial sea of Diaoyu and its affiliated islands with the Secretary General of the United Nations. Before the Diaoyu issue came to worldwide attention, China's marine surveillance vessels had carried out patrol missions in the waters of Diaoyu and its affiliated islands for years. Since 2006, China's marine surveillance authorities have maintained routine patrols to safeguard and exercise China's sovereignty and jurisdiction in the waters of East China Sea, Yellow Sea, and South China Sea under China's jurisdiction, and established the regular law enforcement patrol system covering all of China's territorial waters. So long as the sea and weather conditions allow, at least 2 marine surveillance vessels and 1 marine surveillance aircraft are dispatched for patrol purpose on a daily basis. Patrols in the waters adjacent to Diaoyu and its affiliated islands are routine law enforcement missions carried out by Chinese marine surveillance vessels. These patrol missions cover all the waters under the jurisdiction of China, not just the Diaoyu waters. China's news program is now complete with weather forecast for Diaoyu. The weather forecast is very popular among the Chinese fishermen, as it helps guarantee their safety if they go out for fishery activities in the ocean. Under the impact of warm currents from Taiwan and southwest monsoon, strong ocean currents move from southwest to northeast, easily carrying fishermen in China's southeast coast to Diaoyu. For the Chinese fishermen there, Diaoyu has been their fishing paradise since ancient times. Zhao Yaozhong, a former fishing vessel captain, showed us detailed records of Chinese fishermen operating in the Diaoyu waters.
每天一站，哪一条船在哪一个位置，我下几网，每网的是产量情况都是记在里边。钓鱼岛也跟我们是大陆附近的岛屿没有什么区别，等于像我们农民种自留地一样，到自己家里那个自留地里边挑点青菜啊，什么东西很方便的。当水手的到那边这么好的产量，感到相当激动，而且那边到了晚上像一个灯火，像一个小上海一样。不但是我们公司的船，而且是全国各地的船，包括是香港的，包括我们是那个是南海的，都在一起抓那个马面鱼。
Yu Guangjun is an ordinary fisherman. When young, he often went for fishing in the waters adjacent to Diaoyu and was one of the few fishermen who owned a camera.
当时呢，离钓鱼岛已经很近了，0.3海里，可以跳上去了。我们当时看到呢，绿叶葱葱，它那个树都有碗口那样大树。我们离钓鱼岛3海里的时候，就发现钓鱼岛的鸟都飞起来了，黑压压的一片。当时很激动，这个就是我，当时
好年轻的，
当时我还只有28岁，这后面就是王尾鱼。
For fishermen, fishing in the waters under the jurisdiction of one's own country is an unquestionable common knowledge. Despite waves upon waves of trouble concerning the Diaoyu dispute, history and facts brook no distortion. It is a territory which has belonged to China since ancient times. It remains part of the homeland of the Chinese people.